Hey, thanks for tuning in for today's stream. Going to be working on contributing to remove jQuery from Drupal. So jQuery is technically end of life, or I guess like on the so there was a jQuery foundation that became the JS foundation, which merged with Node, and we have OpenJS. And jQuery is considered end of life or emeritus, which is basically end of life. So the Drupal community is trying to get jQuery UI and, well, I guess just jQuery UI components out of Drupal core and also jQuery as well. So I tried working on this last week, but Drupal had an off schedule security release due to a third party library, and people basically DDoS'd the infrastructure, so I wasn't able to get very far. So I wanted to follow up on a few things there. So last time I worked on this jQuery show and hide. I wanted to see if there's any updates. See, I made a push and I broke the custom commands. So way to go, me. Let's read this real quick. Past, yarn, run. 3 problems. Expected an assignment or function call instead saw an expression. All right, so I need to fix this real quick. Let's open that file up. All right. So what did I break? On line 50. Expecting oh, shoot, because I just went ahead and I did an inline ternary operation. And args is not. There we go. Expecting an assignment. So I guess we'll just have to do this longhand. While doing the stream, we try to make it be a fancy we try to be fancy with it last time. And that turned out just to be a bad idea. All right, what did I do here? So if the length is 0, so then it's if item dot has attribute so if it is hidden, we're removing the hidden, else we're setting it, because there is no toggle for attributes because we don't know if the attribute is a Boolean value or not. Else if args 0 and above, it validates that arg 0 is a Boolean. So if args, let's cut, else we'll paste that in there. All right. Unexpected if as the only statement. Well, that's not, we don't want that. So else so if we need to make the linter happy, we don't want a dangling if else. I guess we have to do so it's else if 0. So there we go. We need to have several else ifs. So this is a direct toggle. What's this? Unexpected function name. More actions. What is that supposed to mean? Or better yet, how can I run this? Let's see. Let's figure out how to run the linter. Because I feel like I did run this before, but it didn't throw that error. Yarn run. It's just it's just literally yarn run. So I guess we will try that out. So we'll go into core, do yarn run, and see what happens. Oh, here we go. Actually, it's this script right here. No such script, so let's go cd into it. All right. And there's no, wait. Yeah, we'll run that and we'll see if that comes up with the error. To apply the change as a patch. All right. That was something else. So it seems like this should be okay. No, it read all the ddev stuff. I don't want it to do that. Oh, so it reads all the for merge request branch. So it read everything in the branch where I want it to Babel ES6 build. So build.js. All right, so it's in the build.js. Let's do that. That seems to be where this error came up. It says check, and it's, oh, build ES6 check. That's not even in here. So it must be something that's only in that script. So let's look at this core script directly. So it's in scripts, dev, code check commit. Let's see here, checks exists only for core development purposes. Options branch creates a list of files checked against a branch. Creates a list of files to check by comparing against a branch. All right, so we want to run, we're going to do branch is 9.3.x. So we want to compare against the 9.3.x branch and see if any errors throw up. Which is what happened in this file here. And it seemed to have passed. Fix linting. All right, so we'll push that and see if that helps push that issue along at all. And so what this will let us end up doing is it's going to provide a jQuery show and hide function and allow us to deprecate using jQuery show and hide for a more vanilla JS approach. And I hope that that fixes that build. And we'll come back and check on that. So now I'm back to the main one, remove jQuery UI component. So I was going, this is around jQuery UI, and there's actually just jQuery. So I was bouncing between the two. So the last thing I checked on, or I was also going to look at, was removing jQuery, deprecating jQuery.once for the new once library. And we moved from the jQuery once to Drupal's own once library called once, and this is actually packaged and bundled up to npm. So it's to move over to this npm package, which has no dependencies on jQuery. It has no dependencies at all, as far as I know. So this got split up into, this is one main pull request to update all of Drupal core. Merge request 513. So it's pretty big. Automated changes. So it changes a whole bunch of things, and this just got rebased. So the next part is these are split up into some subtopics of use Drupal core once for the block module. So I'm going to get push access to this and try to help push it along. So in here, it uses the block module to use once library. So in here we can see it's using once, and instead of using jQuery's once, it's using the once here. But we need to have automated tests for it, and I actually have no idea what that will entail since all the tests are working. I just test to make sure once functionally works as intended. So my goal is to help write some JavaScript tests for this. So I'm going to click get push access. I'm going to check out 9.3.x. I'm going to do a pull to make sure I'm up to date. And I'm going to fetch this by adding the fork to my local. And then check out the branch. So now run yarn and install after we did the updates. So now the thing to figure out is how to test all of this to verify that something only runs once. And this is a bit of some Drupalisms. So inside of Drupal's JavaScript, we have these things called behaviors. And whenever an AJAX operation executes within the Drupal AJAX the Drupal AJAX API inside JavaScript, whenever it runs an operation, it detaches behaviors and attaches behaviors. That's what this attaches for. When a form AJAX runs or something else runs or the page is fully loaded, all the behaviors are attached. If an AJAX operation is executed, they are detached and reattached on the changes. So in here, we need to test that the block filter by text attaches once to the input block filter text. And like I said, I'm not too sure what to expect in terms of testing this. So let's go look at project. Oh, let's see, where would it be? It actually would be in node modules. Do we have an @Drupal? No, because it hasn't been added to Drupal core yet. So that's one. Actually, that's something that's interesting, is this core once, but it's here. So 1 second. I actually don't know how this is added in. Or where it's defined. Drupal.date has a dependency on core once. But where core libraries has it as a dependency, but I don't know where it's even added. Let's do a Let's merge 3.x and see if that fixes it. No, I'm really confused here. So let's see. I want to figure out how this was added to corpse. I'm not seeing it. Add once.js to core. Like, is it defined magically somewhere? I don't see it in the node modules. It's considered Drupal core. There are no runtime dependencies. All right, the once library has been added to replace the change record for the library. Inspired from here. 71, 3 months ago. Let's look at this commit. So, oh, that's where it exists. All right. So it's in core. It's actually been core assets vendor once. So it's been hand added in. But where core libraries.yaml, I'm silly. I realized why I couldn't find it. Because it's going to be called once here, and there's the definition. All right. Well, I feel a little bit silly on that. So now we're going to move into testing this. So I want to see how they write their own test in here. Once.test.js. They're using the regular testing framework, which we'll have to use nightwatch.js. So before each, require an ID to be a string. Only process element objects once. So we'll have to just play along with it and see what happens. So once block filter text. Or I guess I need to get a site running to see what it's going to be working with. And then I'm guessing we'll put the test in the block module. Close Slack. All right. So yeah, we'll start with the first line here on this block filter text. Filter by text, which was in the admin. Block filter by text. Filters a block list by text input. We'll have the selector of input block filter. Which we then, so we have this filter in here. So it's like, do we add the test into here? And what would we test? Again, I need to see how they test it all. Require ID did not have spaces, only process element objects. Execute once, test for, and check the return type. So once there, expect piece span. Expect once. Okay, execute once and make sure it returns an element only once, so that way it's re-entrant. So I guess what we can do is let's see if I have the site actually installed. Because I think it adds a class. Let's do ddev drush si, which there's no, I don't have drush installed. What we can do is php core scripts Drupal, and we can do install, say standard. And this will set up a SQLite database that we can just pull from. Which we'll want to, yeah, we can leave that. So once that's installed, then we can see that it should attach a CSS class. At least that's how it's used to work, but maybe it's different here, because I was assuming we could run it. Right. We'll see. I'm actually not sure the best way to test this in an integration format. So I guess one way we could do it is inside this input table filter block list. So if table.length filter rows input on keyup. So I guess one thing we could do is assert that the input only has one event on keyup. That could be the way to test it. So let's log into this demo instance. And see if we can test this in any way. All right. Let's go to the next one. We'll go to structure. And this should show up when we go to add a block. So if we do replace block, this filter by name, this should be our element here, right? We're looking for block filter text, block filter text. All right. This is what we were looking for, and we can see that there is a data.once. All right, so I guess that is what we could test for, is that there's data.once. Add.js says making sure once functionality works as intended. And I feel like that would be best done with a Nightwatch.js test, which we have in not scripts and tests, Drupal, Nightwatch, and tests. We have several here, but it's one of, do we just keep adding more into here, or do we move it somewhere else, such as in this block filter test? So this filter, we should see, I'm really not sure what we would test here to make sure that it works. Because if this is working, So I guess I'm going to have to just see, maybe that's just part of it, is figure out where I put the, so I'm going to say, this seems like it's, this seems like it's, oh, I guess the main thing to test is that it doesn't run twice. It just feels odd. Because the fact that the form is working means that it is mounting correctly. So I guess I'll just make that comment. It seems like the test in, I'm going to copy the reference, covers that once is working as it interacts with the input. Do we need to test that it, do we need to test it further, such as data once is set, or it doesn't have, does not have to key up events? So I'll add that comment because I'm really not sure the best way to test this. Let's see what's in here. Block highlight. So this is in highlight block attachment. So if whenever we add, we click place block, I should reopen the DOM tools. I click save. It's this highlighted action right here. So we'll see if we go to page title, to say block enabled, color success, believe, or block highlight. Is that what it should be? Oh, highlight the block that was just placed into the block listing. Once. So let me see if I can get this to be. Let me reopen the source, which is an assets vendor once. So the ID is the once call and then the selector. So this is the selector. So we would do, all right, so we do have that. So this has a data once, unblock highlight for each container animate scroll top .js block placed container settings.block placement. Let's see, Drupal settings.block placement is page title. That's assumed from up here. Container for each container. So if block placement, we have that there. So this is for each element returned, which is only one. Oh, js.block place. That's what I'm missing here. So this one. So here, JS block place. Okay, so it's looking for that class and it's scrolling it to that top. So I guess the main test is to see if block is doing any of this. Which it doesn't seem that we have a test that verifies that we are scrolling and it's highlighting. So I guess this could be a test that it scrolls to that page. Let's see if I refresh it. It does scroll down to there. So I guess that's one thing that we would have to test, is that executes and there's no test coverage there. That seems like a lot of extra work, or not a lot of extra work, but it just seems a little silly since it's not even tested to begin with. But we'll have to see. So let's look at blocks. Functional JavaScript. This is block filter. And there's this handle searching, so I guess we'll have to check. Let's see, animate scroll top. There's no way to handle. I don't even know how we would test this. So I'm just going to skip it. I'm feeling like this is going to be really hard to test. Yeah, because there's just these few lines. Like, I don't know how we test this. Let's see how they did the manual testing. Move the multiple places in block layout saved. View the basic page. Present. It's outlined by number 4. Oh. I'm stupid. It was right here. JS says to make sure elements are processed only once using this. So, all right, we're going to have to write a night watch test because I didn't pay attention. Yarn add. This is a hack to make sure Chrome driver uses the proper version. So I do not want to commit that. And we'll create our night watch test. So I'm going to actually put this in the night watch, or inside the block. The block module. So I'm just going to reread this real quick. Troubleshooting test running, night watch test. Okay. So let's go to block. There's tests, test source night watch. Sure, we'll put in night watch tests. And we'll want to call it the I don't want to call it once test because that seems silly. But I think that's the only thing we can do. It's basically porting this into it. Like we could do session wait, or we could assert it in here. So we could add in the block filter. But I feel like it's more appropriate to make a night watch test. So we'll just go and we'll call it once integration test.js. We're just going to go simple. And if it needs to be adjusted, then it can, but at least it's started. And I'm going to take the basic example here. Let's see, maybe another example test, setup file. So with Nightwatch.js, there's different setup files. Does this one do test page? No. We want to test and states. Well, let's see what install profile. Drupal install Nightwatch testing, which provides only one module. So we'll go ahead and do that. We're going to let's refactor this to be camel case, and we'll do modules.export. So I wonder if it should be tagged core or if it should also be block. I'm going to do just block. And I'm just going to copy the whole thing, change this to be block. We want to visit admin there. We want to find block, enable it. I don't think there's any dependencies, so we'll drop that. Uninstall. Test once on block filter. So this would be admin structure list, block layout, admin structured block. All right, so let's go, we'll have it go here. We're going to click on place block, probably the first one. We'll just do we're going to click on, oh, that's right. Everything, you can't get stuff by label, so we got to find the selector. So we'll do this. We're just going to start here. So to do this, we got to do yarn. To run the test, we need to configure. All right, I do have it pre-configured. PHPS. All right, so we have that. We go to package.json. Inside of core, there's so many files. Core test package JSON. Here we go. Test Nightwatch. I must have run this previously. Oh, yep. When I was doing some Olivero. So we're going to do Nightwatch. It's going to be modules. Oh, it's not going to autocomplete anything for me. So let's do a copy path. We're going to copy from content root. And we'll delete the core part because we're already in core. Let's see what happens if we can get this to run and click on the button. I think I have it set to be in non-headless mode. I could be wrong. Let's see. It's opening Chrome. All right. So let's see what happens. Probably need to add like an assert and wait that the modal opens. But I just want to make sure we can get to this point. Oh, yep. No access because we need to stay logged in as admin. So let's do that. Or let's see. So why are we removing jQuery? So I was wrong. So I'm wrong. It should actually be a jQuery UI removal. And it's part of modernizing JavaScript. Like jQuery is useful, but you don't need jQuery for a lot of things anymore. Like Backbone.js we could use with vanilla JavaScript for some things. There's just right now Drupal's JavaScript is extremely dated because it's like a snapshot in time from 6 years ago. So the main thing is just replacing anything that's from jQuery UI and jQuery.once and jQuery plugins. Like, yes, jQuery is easy, but you know, there's modern alternatives, and removing Drupal core's dependency on jQuery lowers its maintainability requirements. Now, that's not stopping anybody from using jQuery in Drupal. It just makes Drupal core easier to maintain because it's using less of jQuery itself and anything in there in any release cycle caused by jQuery. I mean, I honestly haven't used jQuery in forever, because vanilla JavaScript has always got me where I need to go, or I use Alpine.js for really basic like state management. But yeah, the main thing is jQuery UI, and one of the big items that was added is the once module. The jQuery plugin was put into a standalone library, and that's where I kind of just picked up to help get that pushed along in core. So I want to check if there's a command for logging in as, so we have login as admin. Login. All right, we're just create role, create user. Guess the right way to do this is probably to follow the same pattern. In Nightwatch, Drupal create role, create user. All right, so we want to call create user to give the person permission to. All right, so let's go up to here. So browser, Drupal create user, access autocomplete test. We want to access the administer blocks page. So we're going to log in, we're going to visit here, and then we should do a, let's see, clear out autocomplete. Expect element to not be visible. Wait for element visible. Let's see. That should go. So we should say place block, and we need to wait for element to be visible. The dialog or the Drupal modal. That should be it. Yeah. Or maybe, yeah, it should be just the Drupal dialog. Described by Drupal module. I guess we'll just check for this to be. So let's click and wait for element visible. And then we should be able to do some asserts. So, all right, I'm just going to rerun the test to make sure that we get an install, or that we actually get to the page, because last time it didn't have permissions. We'll go through. So yeah, for the whole like removing jQuery or keeping jQuery, jQuery is still definitely useful. Like I don't see it necessarily going away because it can kind of standardize things. But the modern web has really advanced that I think some of the reasons we're leaning on jQuery, we don't need to as much. And it would be good to promote a more simplistic or modern implementation. For instance, the toggling of show hide, there is the hidden attribute that you can add and remove to an element to hide it automatically. So we don't need to have the like jQuery show and hide. You should just set the hidden element or not. And by just leveraging those attributes, which is supported in every browser, we remove a bunch of extra code that's Drupal core uses. And CSS, because then we don't even need CSS. We're just toggling an attribute that browsers know to like hide an element from the DOM. So it's things like that that I think are really, really important and just make maintaining this a lot easier. So we got to this form, and based off of this JS test to make sure elements are processed only once using items here. So we need to, I guess, do an assert that this exists. Let's look here. Let's do browser expect element to exist. I don't even know. To be, I can never remember how to do testing. API reference, expect element present to be present. All right, so we expect it to be present, and let's see, elements count, and I guess we could do count. We'll just say that it's, yeah, we want to say expect element dot count to equal 1. So we expect it to be one element there, and I don't even know how we would call in a, let's see here. Whoa, there's a lot of test data, test scenarios. Before each. So we have before each, execute async. Maybe that's what we need to have. So we need this execute to run the test. All right, so we'll do that. So we're going to do execute async. And the idea is that this would let us test that running this once returns 0. So browser is it execute let's see. Oh, the scroll seems broken here. Let's do execute async. All right. So execute async takes a function of test iterations then done. Usage, all right, parameters, the script, arguments, an array of arguments to be passed into the function, which happens not here. How does it know what the test iterations are? Oh, test scenarios. Okay, there we go. So execute async we get the script to be run, the arguments, and the callbacks with the result. Okay. So we've got function done. We have no arguments. And the callback for done. So we have the result. I don't know what the result will be. And this done, value keys, browser assert equal, const offset. There's a lot of stuff in here. Async function iterate. This is new. Never seen this. Tip, resolve. Done to return. Okay, there's the done. Jeez. Way down here. So we'll do done once. And we'll copy the same once that's up here. Inside block filter. Reading your question, is there any way I can contact you for professional help in your Drupal projects? Yeah, so if you want to get a hold of me, one of the easiest ways is to go to my website, and I have a contact form, which I'll link in here. Or I guess now that you see my email address, you can email me, but feel free to contact me from there or Drupal.org. But yeah, you can go ahead in there and let me know what you need some help done. Just a note, right now I am a bit booked up, but I do have like flex time available, as I like to say. It's copied the wrong thing. Like I don't have a lot of availability, but I do the availability to do some quick tasks. So all right, so we've got the done is returning the result of this once. So I'm logging it, but I'm pretty sure that we can just say browser. Okay, where's the callback? That's not the callback. I lost where I was. Position shim. This is a lot of code in here. Props whoever did this because, okay. So browser assert equal. All right. It's just so, I like Nightwatch, but it's just so confusing on like what you can and can't do, or like what is available. So browser equal. We want result to be 0 once returned no elements. All right, let's run this and see. I hope this is right. I don't know, but we'll see. I love writing tests, but man, in JavaScript it can be so difficult, at least when using these abstractions. Like when using jest, it's not too bad, or karma. But when using something like Nightwatch or Cypress, like the autocomplete is just off the wall. And I don't know if it's better in VS Code versus PHP Storm, which I'm going to have to see if I have. Let's go to languages, JavaScript, configure code completion settings. Match case first letter. Maybe there's something in here. Only type-based. Okay. I'm going to change it to only type-based completion, and we'll see what happens. All right. So, once returned, no elements, expected 0, got object. I ran a console.log, and let's see if it returned anything. Oh, value. Okay. So that's it. Result.value. So we want to have result.value.length, I believe. If I look back at the get.once, If I look at the dot once and look at the tests, wait for it to load. They must be doing the same thing. Expect array of length to be 0. All right, so I think that should do it now. I'll rerun it. So this should assert that when we filter it, we only get back the once has been applied. And we can retest it by also reapplying behaviors. So I'll try that as well. I'll re-trigger the Drupal behaviors and see if that, verify that doesn't change anything. What I mean by that is we'll go and we can say Drupal.attach behaviors to document.getElement by ID Drupal modal. So we reattach the behaviors. And if we look at our modal, if we look at this here, we can it's all aggregated. Second. Okay, so that passed. So let's see here. We'll bum. So I'm trying to think of the next step. So this verifies that we ran it. What we want to do is disable aggregation so that way I can show what happens when you rerun behaviors. Which makes me wonder, like, execute async. What happens when you do execute in synchronous? Finding elements, element interaction, execute. Let's see. We just do execute and get the data back, but it's still slightly async. So I think we'll be fine to go for. So let's find performance. And we're going to turn off the aggregation. So that we can show what happens when Drupal behaviors are attached. So I'm going to refresh the page. We're going to open core, modules, block. Let's go to admin. And we'll see here this input. So I'm going to put a breakpoint there. So the behavior is just attached thanks to triggering the Ajax commands, ran some jQuery. So like jQuery is definitely not going to go away in Drupal core. It's used everywhere. And attached behaviors, it then attached, it called our attach. I'm going to hit play. And looks like it's actually running again an open dialog. So if we step over to it, input is empty because the attach ran twice and it's already been processed. And again, why is it running so many times? So there we go. So it ran, and if we do attach behaviors, it again caught, and we have an empty input, which skips over. Thanks. I will answer later today, possibly tomorrow. My son has a baseball game and 2 baseball games later this evening, so I'll be busy with that, but I will get back to you. All right, so we are here. So the next step would be to run another async, I believe. Or we do browser.execute async. Oh, telling it to do strict typing check-in, I think totally made this a lot more efficient. So we'll do Drupal dot attach behaviors, and we're going to make the context be, we'll do it, let's see. Admin, it doesn't even read the context. It just applies it blank on the page. So we're going to do Drupal we're just going to do it blind, where if context is empty, it's the entire document. And then we'll return done once. And again, another result. I feel like there might be a way to make this be simpler. But we'll just do that, and one of the JavaScript core maintainers can tell me if it's the right or wrong way. Sometimes that's the best bet. It's just try something, make progress, and then let somebody in core tell you if it's the right or wrong way. And we'll say after second attach. Oh, that's not the right way where I want to put it. I'm going to say after second attach behaviors. So wait for this to go through. And it passed. So next step would be test once on block filter. The next one would be on the block highlight placement. So let's do that. So let's make another test. And actually, what I think we should do is before, we should just make this be something that happens on before each test. Oh no. So we want before, and let's do a before each. Right? That should be the right hook. Yeah. How do they do it there? So they don't even log in. So we'll move it to there, where before each, we're going to just make a shortcut and log in as that user, since they're all using the block test. All right, so let's create a test that browser. So we're going to end up going to the same part here. We just want to add, we're going to re-add the page title block because that's easier. Easy is going to be in air quotes if I don't know how to target this. So we got the body. We had there. Oh boy. How does, we don't have any functional JavaScript tests for this. Functional. Yeah, we have there are no tests for adding a block with JavaScript. Which makes it hard to test. Well, kind of hard to test because there's no identifiers. So it's really hard to know what button we're going to be pressing or what's the first one. So, all right. So I guess what we're going to have to do is come up with a query selector. So there's a shortcut in the browser to do double $signs. It's like document query selector, but a little bit easier. So let's do block add table. So that's the table. We want to get tr, would it be first child? Let's see what we get here with first child. We've got 2. So that means we need to get even more specific with the body. All right, so now we've got this, and let's find the anchor, I guess. Yeah. So we've got A. And there's our link. So let's try this. So wait for element to be visible. We're just going to add the, well, actually, let's search. We search. I'm going to make a comment with that line there. And let's go to the jQuery UI autocomplete. This autocomplete test, click. Set value. All right, so yeah, we'll do set value. So that way we know we always get the right block. Let's go here. The name is, type is search. Where's name? Class, data element, title, type, search. It has no name element? What? It has no name. But it has the class. So let's do that. So it would be input dot. There we go. So input text. Let's search for tabs. So yeah, if we type in tabs, we'll get back the 1 and we'll get the first. We'll click the first link. So then we'll do a click. And I need to drop that breakpoint because that's getting to be. So I guess we'll have to have a wait for element to be visible for this button. Wait for element visible. Button primary. And then if we click place block, it'll refresh, and I don't know how we're going to test this part. I guess we'll just do the expect and verify from there. So inside of block admin, this is the once. Which context here would be it should be the entire document. So we're going to say wait for element to be visible. I guess just a browser dot execute async this again is function done, and done is there, which context is the document. No arguments, and assert 0. All right, so we wrote a test that adds a block and asserts that we have the elements. And one thing I want to do is I want to try another test which does a, let's see, window.scroll offset. So I think, all right, so we could test that the window offset is greater than 0, I think. And I closed all the night watch things. So we'll just start this. And I actually have to run to the restroom. I'll be right back while that runs. All right, sorry about that. So okay, where did we go? It ran. User was created successfully. Oh, because I put it in before each. So this actually needs to be before because we've already created that user. So I believe we can just do that. And let's see if we get a pass. And I'm just going to make sure I got that email really quick. Yep, I got your email. So I will follow up with you. All right, so we'll get these tests to pass. And I hope this counts for getting the once code tested with block integration. And we can even test the scroll offset, which I want to have run after we get this all to go through. So testing once on block filter. Okay. Failed. No returned elements. Expected 0, but got 1. All right. So that's... So let's see here. Failed once, returned no elements, expected 0, but got 1. Well, that's all right. That's a bit of a bug, actually. Let's see here. I want to just copy this. Oh, thanks for the follow on Twitter. Let's see. I want to also test that we scroll. So if I do function done, we return the window offset, no dependencies, result is browser dot assert. Seriously, this is like the hardest thing to ever remember. Assert. Assert not contains. API commands. Come developer guide. Let's see if there's a expect this. No, assert. Assert attribute contains. What? So not, this is just bonkers. Assert equal, like the built-in assert verified library is available. 2 namespaces containing the same methods, which API commands, finding elements, element state, document handling, session navigation, no protocol, page object, expect. Scroll down into the stupid sidebar. Oh. That's not exact anything I wanted. All right, this is a bit aggravating. So we want to, I want to assert true, assert browser, assert. I don't want it to equal. That's the thing, is I don't know what it's going to equal. Because here, when we first load the page, so when I load the page and the block module scrolls us into view, the offset's 214, but it's not always going to be 214. Oh wait, I see. To equal result dot value greater than 0. True. Like, I just want to assert true. Window was scrolled. I guess what we could do is do JS block placed dot off. What is it? Page. No. Zero dot offset height, offset top. All right, so there we go. All right, we're gonna try this. So we're gonna do done. We're gonna say window offset, and we'll say element offset is document dot query selector JS block placed, and it should be the offset, or it should be offset top. So result equal, so equal should be, so the window offset should be equal to result value dot element offset, and the window was scrolled to the placed block. All right, we'll see if that works. We'll see if that test is scroll, which adds new test coverage to Drupal core, which we didn't have. So that's good news. But I'm kind of concerned that this failed because it returns 0 here. But maybe it's just because we didn't wait. We'll find out. I'm going to try to see if we can wait on the saving of the form. Let's see. Tabbable, no. I want to see the sticky header. That's not it. Lane code test, no. Let's see, we're still running the first test suite. JS cookie test. Wait for element visible, click submit. I guess it should wait for us to submit the form and work just fine. Execute. All right, so filter, test the block placement. So I think the problem is that here we go. Let's see. Okay, so it's not saving the block. Oh, because I just waited for it to be visible. So if I would actually click it, we'd actually get somewhere. So that is nice when you run Night Watch. It gives you the reports, which gives you, you can get some screenshots. I was working on the Olivero test previously in this environment. So let's rerun it. And hopefully we get a passing test. This will cover about, this will cover the admin version, and then it's just handling the block versions. So let's go here. Where's our test? There's our test. And just so I am running it with the core yarn, and the one workaround that had to be done is I had to, this is running here. I had to do yarn add Chrome driver at latest. So that way it worked with my version of Chrome. By default, the pegged version of Chrome driver is matched to what runs on Drupal CI, which is a bit dated. So if you do run Night Watch locally, you need to run yarn add Chrome driver at latest, or use the Drupal CI image. Window was scrolled to the place block, expected 178, but got 0. That's, I closed the wrong tab. Well, that's cool that it actually worked. Move tab left. And I believe I have a blog post on that, I think. All right, so click execute. Maybe we just need to wait a moment. So let's see if I go back to the night watch test. What do they have? Wait for element to be visible. All right. I don't know why everything has this, but why not? Let's just copy it right in there. And before I begin, let's view. The block configuration has been saved, but I don't see it in here. Header, right? We added it to the header. We click tabs. All right. Click button primary. Oh, you know what? It's clicking the wrong button, I bet. So let's do this and see what happens. Yeah, so we click place there. I bet it was blindly clicking the wrong button. So let's try to make it more specific. Couldn't, oh, CD core. Yeah, so what I was talking about is if you run core tests locally, you need to run this yarn add Chrome driver at latest to fix dependencies and run it from inside core. And then you should be all set. Well, almost all set. I gave a, I'll link this in the chat for those who are watching. If you aren't watching this live and you're seeing the text on the right-hand screen, you can just find it on my blog, this Night Watch training. So I gave a training at mid-camp to get Night Watch running. There's also a GitHub that I set up for some of the examples, and there's some videos from that training to give, or that you can watch as well. So if you're looking to get into JavaScript testing with Drupal, there's a little helper guide for how you can get up and running. In that GitHub example that I link, I have a Drupal site set up to run with Lando, DDev, or like local testing, and it has GitHub actions that actually test running the test in Lando or DDev or local. So that can be a good reference point. All right. So it's going to fail because it can't find this block. Error while executing. But it's like it didn't even. This isn't going to do anything because we're already there. Sorry, by that I mean like we're always going to have the body element because it's where the page is loaded. But if I do place block, if I hit place, let's make sure, let's validate this selector. Again, double $signs. Oh, there's nothing there, and it didn't error when clicking on something that's not there. So that's fabulous. All right. Oh, what? It's outside of the modal. All right. So we need to look into the UI dialog button pane, apparently. And then we get the right button. All right, so let's copy that selector and bring it in here. I really hate having to use like absolute selectors in my test. If you've watched any of my Simply Test streams, I've tried to find ways to say like click block, like click on save block by finding the button that has that text in it. I prefer that more than here, but at this point, I just want to get something working because we don't have a lot of those helpers inside of here, and that's with Cypress that's being done with, and Cypress makes it a little bit more easy to run those custom commands, I believe. All right, now we're running. This back over. And when running it, I don't think there's an easy way to say only run one of the tests in the file. Like it's just the entire file. So we've got our setup going. Creates our test user. All right. So it's going to test the filter. So we click the button. But I still don't see our tabs block. That's supposed to be added. No, I want to delete those. And let's see. I'm just trying to find, so perform, promise all. What does this do? Then done, then perform. Submit form. Submit a form element. That's not what we want. All right, the commands aren't going to help out the assertions. None of this actually really tests the submitting something with Ajax. So night watch, let's see here. Assert, expect, I want to get API commands. I want to get a pause. I'm going to do a I'm going to pause for 2 seconds to try to get a better view of what's going on in the page. I could do a save screenshot. That might be the next step too. All right. So one alternative to having to click and set all this up is we could write a setup script that creates the default user and the permissions. Why did that error? Oh, come on. So that, like, there's these, so night watch. This tools? No. It's in. Does this have it? Oh, what? Where does it have? Oh, so Drupal test site. It has this Olivero install. So basically, when you point to this script, it installs the Olivero theme and the modules. So that way you kind of get a pre-configured site out of the box without having to click through a bunch of this stuff. So it's still clicking the wrong button because it's not actually adding our. But that doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense. Okay, let's see. What are the classes for this? So we have edit submit, button primary. Let's do a place block, place block. I mean, I don't understand why. Because that's should be completely. So button. So it's a button and a button. And this is a submit, isn't it? It's an input. So yeah, so that doesn't make any sense to me why it's failing. And this is just a screenshot of the content. One thing we can do is we need to assert the page. No, not page. So expect expect title, expect URL. All right, so let's do this. We're going to because it should bring us to a page that has block placement tabs. So let's do that. So we're adding the tabs block. So we should end with a URL that has block placement tabs. I'm going to turn off the pause because that doesn't seem to be helping. And I'm also going to skip this first test so we can try to make this a little bit faster. Because I don't understand why it's not working and we have no existing test coverage for this. But like we know it works because I can manually do it, but we just have no existing test coverage in Drupal core for doing this with JavaScript. It added what? Oh, you know what? You ha ha. So I just figured something out. All right. So I don't know if you all noticed, but the block placement tab said page title, so it is working. It's working as expected. So if I go into here and I do tabs, so if I do tabs and if I copy this path selector, it is still the button for page title, even though it's hidden. Because it's not checking visible. Because it's doing first child. What happens if I remove first child from this? We get it all, and visible isn't a valid pseudo selector. CSS visible pseudo selector. I don't think there is one. Focus visible. Oh, that's not going to be it. Our in focus. No. Hover. Okay. Location based. Hover, active focus. Current, past, future. Oh, well, that's. Oh, caption. Enable, disabled, rewrite. Default checked. Unarranged, optional, user invalid. Matches an element that has no siblings of the selected type. Stripe first of type. I don't think. I think I'm probably a little hosed here because there's no way to filter out anything that's hidden. Yeah, there is no. So this is another example where it'd be great if we didn't use display none and we just had the hidden attribute, because then we could say not hidden. Has, is. Let's do not. I don't think you can do not hidden. Body not table. Not div, not span. Fancy. Span foo. I don't think that this is possible, but we can do CSS not display none. Well, no, that's display none is working. We want to do a selector. Yeah, I think it is impossible. So, yeah. Oh, wait a second. Wait, TD odd. All right. All right. All right. All right. Wait. Everything is source, isn't it? Hold on. Yep, everything is source. Come on. And there's no class that says like, hey, this is the selected one. Well, geez. Oh, you can do that? Well, we'll find out. We're going to do tr style. Here, we'll just do style equals display. Heyo. Oh, but it doesn't even. Oh, it's like an exact match on that too. So that feels super hacky. But what that means we can do is we can do that. We can add not and pass in the attribute selector and get our attribute. Hoo-ha! Thank you for that so much. Let's do click. So we can do a partial match. Let me copy that URL. It's not going to let me inside of Streamlabs OBS, but there we go. All right. So yeah, we'll do that match. So I knew we could do these matchers, but I didn't think about the fact that we could put those in a not or match on style. Like I never thought about matching on style. We want to have contains preceded by a value or suffixed contains at least one occurrence. Well, we know. Oh, where am I going? I lost where I was. Here we are. All right, so this seems to work by adding not and the attribute selector. I was able to get the correct item. Ooh, none. All right, let's try that. Ah. Apparently, I cannot type. Well, that returned. That returned everything. Did I type something different here? Or style? Saying some. Because what the other thing I was thinking is doing. Oh, weird. So I don't think it does a. So this is interesting. Is not none, but it's returning all the things. So I think it does matching only on the property or something. Because see here, or style not like not has display. So I think it does matching on the attribute the style property, not the value, unless you do the full value name. Because when I did the contains, so here, or contains just works differently. Or, yeah, so that doesn't work the same. That's interesting. So, I know there's always the argument on Twitter about if front end developers are like CSS is a programming language. Like, it is. Like, right there, like, there's, yeah. How long did it take me to figure this out? It took a long time. Not a long time, but it took long enough that that's wild. And just even thinking about 7 years ago, 5 years ago, like what you couldn't do, that's pretty outstanding that we're able to get here just off of some CSS styling. Like it's not even using XPath. Like, XPath, you'd expect to be able to do that. But the fact that CSS selectors are becoming that powerful is really cool. All right. I hope this gets it. It's still pick page title. You gotta be kidding me. All right. Yeah. I know I was on a project where, just even a slide out drawer with CSS using a checkbox, no JavaScript needed to make a slide out menu drawer because it can just be done with CSS animations and a checkbox leveraging labels. It's absurd. No, I don't know if it's accessible or not, but it's pretty wild. So what I'm going to do is just make a big ol' note. It's note. Try to do. I don't even know what to type in here. So to do. Cannot actually click on the button for visible row. Always defaults to the first row, even if hidden. I'm just going to comment it and kind of move on so I can push this up and just move on. So I can push this up because my brain hurts and I've got to get moving for my son's baseball games later today. All right, so we'll see if that works. Because the good news is this should hopefully be enough to see if I'm on the right path for this code. Which I just realized I rebased my, I didn't rebase, but I merged in 9.3.x and we need to change this. Shoot. This is against 9.3.x and I'm pretty sure we need to make it against, no, sorry. The current merge request is against 9.2 and we need it to be against 9.3 and I merged in 9.3. So I don't know what'll happen and I closed the wrong browser. A second. Shoot. I guess that's the one thing about the GitLab issues is if you need, like for core, you get a merge request and it's open against a certain version, but if you need to bump it to new one, like in here, you can't. I don't know how you can change. Well, maybe Nod would have to change the base branch. So we got the page title to have that in it. I wonder if we need to have a pause? Let's pause for 100 milliseconds to see if that's enough time for the event loop to pass, because the event loop takes about 1 millisecond. So by pausing 100, that should be enough time. And I need to figure out. All right, it's not scrolling. Expected 178, but got equal the actual expected. So there's a way. What I should do is I'm just going to pause it indefinitely and I'm just going to see what happens and then I'll have to call it. And I need to figure out how to get this code up properly because I rebased or I didn't rebase. I did a merge of 9.3.x into this branch, and it's actually on the 9.2.x. And I can't change it. So I'll have to mess around with it once we get, I want to try to get this fixed up. So that page title. You know what? I wonder if it doesn't scroll in because there's nothing to scroll to. That's probably a big reason. That would make sense. Because if I shrink this and if I refresh, all right, so maybe that's one thing it needs to do. Let's go. Well, first, let's see if this is going to pass. Okay, so that should be it. I'm going to close that. We need to, let's run this async first. Resize and reload to assert scroll. Default height doesn't have scroll. All right, so we're going to copy that. It has the assert page width that once works, and let's resize the browser. Nightwatch.js. Resize window. Oh, resize window. Resize window. Let's see if this is already set. I want to find out what it's set to. So mobile menu. Let's do 400. How do you reload the page? Element location, document handling, session. Refresh. So yeah, it already has. So I'm afraid of doing it before due to the form, because that's already what's set here. Is it sets it to 1600 and 800. I'm afraid of setting it any shorter in height due to the forms. Like if it doesn't scroll properly or the modal. But I guess let's just try it out. Let's just try it out. We will. Hello. All right. So before, yep, not before each. Let's do a. Let's resize the window to be 1000 by, I close that window. Let's just say 400. I'm just guessing with 400. Set the height smaller for testing scroll. I feel like that could just be done. That doesn't need to be before those. I still feel like that's like specific to just this test. So we will do that here. On placed. So yeah, so we'll do that. Let's cancel this and rerun it, and we'll see if it runs correctly. I hope it does. So yeah, so it couldn't scroll because there was no overflow because the height was so big. But I know with maybe it's better now, but I remember the earlier days with like JavaScript testing, having the browser be too small. Like it wouldn't auto scroll to elements that were below the fold and just all kinds of weird problems. So that's why I'm nervous about just saying off of the bat, be that height. But we should be there. All right. So we've got 3. I think I'm just going to say greater than 0 and call it a happy day. Or let's do... All right, I'm going to put in that pause 100 again. All right, we'll try it out. I'm going to keep it in this test because we still have this other one, and maybe we'll have other tests added. Like I'm going to rename this to be block place test. So we're going to call this the block place test. Test block highlight on placement. And let's run it because I want to see if we can get the exact offsets to match. And I don't know if it needs a pause to wait for the animation to finish. So we'll see how this goes. So I really cannot read test. Oh, of course not. Block place test.js because I really want to get this pushed up so we can see if this is moving forward. Because I feel like this is one area that Drupal core hasn't had a lot of actually contributors. Is around like modernizing the JavaScript initiative and all those things like that. Which I don't blame people because this has been a kick in the pants. Like this has been hard. Just to get these tests written and like the JavaScript tests written. All right. First test passed. Come on now. How long does it take to animate? Pause for animation. You know what? What's the assert Ajax? Ah, all right. How can we run this? How can we run that snippet of code inside Nightwatch to wait for jQuery to stop being active or animating? Wait. No. Wait. While. API commands. Window related. All right, let's see. Finding elements. Element state. Protocol actions. Document handling. This function will be invoked under the hood. So I guess what we could do is just not try to be fancy and wait 500 milliseconds, because I can't think of an elegant way to do that. So it'd be cool if we could somehow have it wait, like have the callback. I guess we could call done. We could call done after that's finished running, and then execute the callback, like wait for animation. But if I can just wait 500 milliseconds and that does it, I'll be happy. So we say to do, run, execute, wait for animate. Put a to do in there. Woo! All right, that worked. So that is now success. Just waiting 500 milliseconds. I'm gonna put a to do in there. I need to fix my branch now, so this is gonna get exciting. So earlier on, I managed to not pay attention, and I merged in 9.3.x when this original base branch was 9.2.x. So I need to fix that. So what I'll do is, oh sweet, thank you for the subscription. And the zombie is running across my page because I didn't change all of the default things because I'm busy and I really want to work on some of this a bit more. All right, so I need to get my base branch to rebase off of 9.3.x. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm actually going to do a rollback here, and that is going to remove it from version control. All right, so I'm out of version control. And thanks for tuning in, Marky. Have a good night over the pond. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Git Reset hard on. Let me make sure I copy the upstream name correctly. So we have this as the upstream name, and it's going to be hard to copy. So we're going to do Git Reset hard on 3208. Cannot reset file for revision. Oh no. Cannot reset what file? Oh, this is a mess. All right. 5 websites. Chmod 7.5 sites default. Let's do a git checkout and see if I can get back to the original commit. So git status. So I really just screwed up my environment. Well, I guess not too much. So I want to keep that, and I want to remove I want to keep this. So git status. Remove that. Remove that. That. There's a much easier way to do this. I'm going to stop indexing. And if I was thinking a little bit ahead, I would just delete all the untracked files from the PHP Storm VCS tab. All right, so now I'm going to do git reset hard. All right, so now I've reset. I'm back here, And if I go git checkout 9.2.x and do a git pull, I'm going to quick check out this branch again. So now that I have the local objects and I do a git log, it's not showing that is Drupal 320. So FP for me is an alias for fetch and prune. All right, so now we have this here. I'm going to do a git rebase on 9.2.x log. Okay, so now we go. Now we're back up to date, and we will do git add core status and commit. Oh my head. Add night watch test for block placement. And we're going to push, and it's going to complain because I did a rebase. So we're going to do a force push. Oh, it replaces the previous one, or it takes a snapshot of tagged previous. Huh, that's cool. So let's see. Actually, this is not for Elite Metal Tools. This is just for me. So I'm going to marking this for needs review to get review on the test I added. I'm going to just delete this comment because it's not relevant anymore. All right, so I'm putting it for review on here. And so we added the test to submit the form. It verifies that once runs correctly on the block filter text and does so here for the table and actually asserts that we scroll. So there's that. This is an issue I worked on earlier at the beginning of the stream. I want to see if this finally passed. Nope. I made everything fail. So, hooray for me for breaking all the tests. How? Local show hidden shim. Shiminy. Changes. It's right there. Core miscellaneous jQuery show shim. I swear, whenever I contribute to Drupal core, and it's something like it could be simple things, I just feel so absolutely ridiculously useless. And incapable. Show hidden. Oh, it's hide. So let's see if I can. I should be able to just quick fix this inside the GitLab IDE. Inside core, if it loads. Whoa, not composer. So core Oh, sweet. It opened all the files for me and shows me where I've made edits, because this is hide. Fix file name in libraries. All right. So that should fix that up, I hope. Let's see how this runs. Hopefully that helps get things pushed forward a little bit more. I hope. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you saw some interesting and fun things about JavaScript and testing with Nightwatch.js for Drupal core, and realizing that, you know, it's, yeah. If you've ever worked with Drupal core and tried to contribute and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, guess what? I feel the exact same way every time I try to. So thanks for tuning in. I'm going to head off, and on Friday, I'll be back doing some work on Drupal commerce and doing a lot of form Ajax type stuff. So I'll talk to you later.